I think all students should be able to play these 3 chord progressions. And if you've done any kind of chord work, you'll probably personally recognize all 3 of the progressions, but you may even be teaching at least one of them already as part of, sometimes it's called chopsticks. Other times it's called heart and soul, because that's one of the chord progressions. Chords, remember, form the foundation of so many pop songs, so it just makes sense to combine pop piano playing with a lesson on how to teach chords. Hey everyone, it's Tim here from Top Music, and you're listening to the Topcast. This is episode number 226, the end of January 2021, and we're about to head back to school here in Australia. I know many of you have already been teaching for a number of weeks, so I hope things are going well, and wishing all my Australian and New Zealand colleagues all the best as we kick off term 1 for this year. This episode is all about something that I call 4-chord composing. Now, if you're not familiar with 4-chord composing, it's one of the best activities that you can do with students to both deepen their understanding of music and also to just give them a really fun time at the piano. Every child I've ever done this with, and adult for that matter, absolutely love this, and it's so meaningful and it's just so valuable. And you know what? It's so simple. So in today's episode, I'm going to be unpacking what is 4-chord composing all about and how can you get started with it. And make sure you do check out Top Music Pro membership, because the 4-chord composing course is one of our flagship courses inside our academy. And you get full access to that as a member, including all our other incredible courses. We've now got almost 35 courses in there, both on business and the pedagogy of teaching. And this is one of the most popular. You get to see me actually teach one of my teenage students and see what technology I use, what I do, what I say, how it works, download all the lesson plans. And honestly, this material is valuable. You could spend a year with a student unpacking this and going deeper and deeper, creating songs, moving into lyric writing, all sorts of things. It's just such a great program, and I really hope that if you haven't ever tried it out, that today's episode will convince you that you can. Oh, and you probably should too. All right, without further ado, let's introduce myself, because this is a solo episode with me and my discussion and my exploration of 4-chord composing. It's just me on the podcast today, and it's a special episode as you get a chance to have a look inside one of my most popular Inner Circle courses, and it's called 4-chord composing. You might have already heard about it. So what I'm going to cover today is why I created the 4-chord composing course, who it's for, how it actually works, how you can get started, and where you can go to find more information. So the 4-chord composing course is a 10-week framework designed to introduce any student to the fun and power of a chord-based approach to playing and creating music at the piano. Just about all music, from Baroque to classical, jazz, pop, rock, is based on chords, and yet explicit instruction around the chord-based nature of music, how it works, the theory behind it, and how to create it, seldom enters the traditional piano lesson. You see, of course, many of us weren't taught with chords and lead sheets and things like that in our own lessons. So one of the biggest difficulties, even if we know it's a great idea and would like to teach in this way and try some different things, it's really hard to know how to get started, what to do, and what to teach when there isn't a structure around it. And so that's why I created this course. The power of chords to assist students in the reading and performance of traditional music, not to mention the deep theoretical understanding that a chord-based knowledge of music brings to a musician, is critical to a pianist's sight-reading ability, understanding of musical genre, ability to improvise, and things like understanding form and structure. At the end of last month, I ran a webinar with Forrest Kinney all about teaching lead sheet playing to students and how important this is for any pianist. And I wrote a really popular blog about why lead sheet chord playing is essential in a piano lesson. I gave about 10 different points for it, so make sure you check that out. We'll pop a link in the show notes. The webinar with Forrest was one of my biggest and most popular webinars, and so if you missed it, make sure you check out the replay, which is also in the Inner Circle resource library. It covers many of the same theories and ideas are based around this concept of teaching via chords, although the 4-chord composing course I'm going to share with you now is a little bit different. Chord-based teaching provides a bridge between written musical theory textbooks and the practice of making music. And this is one of the reasons I love teaching students from a chord perspective. It gives students a practical demonstration of and an immersion in the theory through a student's real-world love and innate understanding of popular music, which, as we know, is generally based on chords. Put simply, this teaching approach connects students with the theory in a practical and meaningful way, using musical structures they innately know and understand. If you'd like your students to be able to read music more fluently, to be able to compose their own music, and improvise out of trouble when performing, if you'd like them to be able to read a chord chart, fill in a left hand and accompany themselves as they sing, or if you'd like your students to be able to play in bands and have the best chance of making music for the rest of their life, then I believe this program is for you. So before I play a section of the 4-chord composing course, let me give you a little bit of background on the actual course. As I said, it's a 10-module course on how to take your students from the basics of chords, literally how to play major and minor chords and find them in any key around the piano, right through to using technology and arranging their own complex chord progressions. So this is how the actual course looks. Module 1 is all about finding major and minor chords and simply getting students' hands around playing chords and triads in root position. And I talk particularly about fingering choices there as well. Module 2, which I'm going to share with you today, is all about pop piano playing. So both the style and where you play different chords, what your two hands do, but also some common chord progressions that kids love. Module 3 is about the starting of the process of composing with 4 chords and how I teach that. Module 4 is about creating melodies over the top of those chord progressions. Module 5 is about adding new chord types. So that's where we talk about 7th chords, suspensions and ninths and great chord sounds like that. Module 6 is all about styles and patterns, so how to make these chord progressions sound a bit more funky and a bit more popular. Module 7 is all about form and structure, and this comes at a time when students in this framework are starting to create their own pieces of music through a variety of different chord progressions. Module 8, we talk more about 7th, we talk about borrowed chords, and we look at bass lines in more detail. Module 9 is all about apps and technology that you can use that goes along really well with this approach to teaching. And Module 10 is a where to next. What are the next kind of steps that you would take with a student after this? And I give some recommendations of places to go and resources to find. Let me give you a couple of bits of feedback that I've got from teachers who have been using this method. So Lisa said, I did complete the 4-chord composing course and it is proving to be a winner with some of my students. I've been working through the material for some time now with one student in particular, and I'm starting to use more of the information with other students too. They are all thrilled to be learning the fun stuff and to be able to play around with music that they like. And also this from Michelle, P.S., an unrelated topic, this was in one of our forums, but I just want to say my biggest win by far has been the implementation of your 4-chord composing to all my students. The absolute joy it brings is a pure adrenaline rush for all of us, and my biggest fan is a 67-year-old man. There you go. Thanks, Michelle, for sharing that, and also for Lisa for your feedback too. So let's take a listen now to Module 2 of the course, where I focus on how to play in a pop piano style and talk about using the 3 most common pop progressions. I think all students should be able to play these 3 chord progressions. And if you've done any kind of chord work, you'll probably personally recognize all 3 of the progressions, but you may even be teaching at least one of them already as part of, sometimes it's called chopsticks, other times it's called heart and soul, because that's one of the chord progressions. Chords, remember, form the foundation of so many pop songs, so it just makes sense to combine pop piano playing with a lesson on how to teach chords. In this lesson, we'll teach our students how to play in a pop style, what that looks like on the piano, where to put their hands, and those kinds of things. We'll talk about how to repeat chords and make sure they're keeping a steady beat, how to use the pedal also, and heaps more. Now, if you'd like to access Lesson 1, the lesson that comes before this, which is all about just setting students up for playing chords, then you can check out timtopham.com/chords. So let's take a listen. In Lesson 2, as I said, we'll be exploring how to play in a pop style because students are going to need to know this and a few common chord progressions in order to actually create their own progressions. So let's get started. All right, so Will, last lesson I introduced you to a little method of playing chords called the big, small method. And hopefully you got a chance to do some practice on that.
Yeah.
Yeah? All right, so I'm going to give Will a bit of a quiz
of a few chords around the piano just to see how quickly he can find them. So, Will, with your left hand, E flat major, please. Great. Chords, fantastic. Can you remember what fingers we were using when we played last week?
Yeah, I originally used 1, 2, and 4. But you wanted to use 1, 3, and 5, or 5, 3, and 1.
Yeah. So can you try 5, 3, 1? Beautiful. Yeah. We're using that at home more often?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Great. And let's go for G minor with the right hand now.
The right hand. Well, G minor is 2 and 3, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
1, 2. Yes, that's right.
So have a listen to the sound of that. And maybe thinking about whether that sounds like a minor or a major chord. Yeah, that sounds better, right? So do you know the mistake that you made?
Yeah, my 5th finger was on the C sharp instead of the D.
Right, and so that meant that you had what gaps?
I had a 2 and 2 instead of
2
2
and
and
2.
3.
Interestingly enough, and this could be a good point that you might want to bring up, the chord that Will's played, G, B flat, D flat, is in fact a diminished chord, and that could be something that you could teach students. So there are actually 4 chord types: diminished, augmented, and major and minor, but I'm not going to confuse you now. Things are going pretty well. Let's do 2 more quickly. Left hand, E major, please.
E major.
Great. And with the right hand, let's do D flat minor.
D
please.
flat minor.
Yeah, just for a little challenge.
No worries.
Nice job. And again, 1, 3, 5 if you can. Yeah, great. And one of the other things we did, because we used one of the extension activities last lesson, was just to play up left-hand chords, and you were doing some pretty cool improvising with the right hand, nice and simple. Let's just speed that up a little bit, and we're just going to do 2 beats on each chord. And we'll go up the scale, and we'll come down the scale as well. I'll give you a little beat down here.
Sure.
Right hand, maybe up an octave higher than you were last week. Anywhere there. And you can use any white note. If you want to move out of that 5-finger position, you can.
Sure.
Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and
Good.
We'll go down. Down. Here we go. 2. So we'll start on the C, and we'll go down. 1, 2, 3, 4, and. And so, would you be able to name these really, really quickly? First chord is?
C major.
Great, you can play them along with me as well. So, C major, what's the next one?
D minor.
D minor, great. Next one?
E minor.
Great.
F major. G major. A minor.
Correct.
Yep. B minor. Or is that a B major?
Have a look at your intervals.
Oh, it's a 2 and a 2.
And what did we say that was at the start of the lesson?
It's a diminished chord.
Very
So
good.
it's a B diminished.
B diminished, yeah. And
Yep.
the last one?
C major.
Yeah, nice job. So I can tell that Will he's getting a good understanding of this and certainly ready to move on. There's no point waiting for him to be absolutely perfect with any of this. It's a matter of getting engaged with the music. You might want to check your students' oral discrimination again on major and minor. Again, on the lesson plan, you'll see that I've got check practice tasks up first so you can see what you need to ask them. All right, so today we're going to do some pop style playing. All right. So what we're now going to do is, and from now on, for the next little while, we're going to play chords in our right hand, 1, 3, 5, and the left hand, we're going to play octaves. Now, you're a teenager, you've got relatively big hands, so I'm going to get him to do octaves. Can you play octaves C and C with the left hand? Good. For students who have never done this before, and I think you've played octaves before in your left hand, haven't you? Yeah. This may be a little bit hard for the first lesson. So your alternatives are fifths. So try just fifths. Right? Or just single notes with whatever finger. It's totally fine, okay? And the thing that you really want to get students doing is keeping a steady beat when they play. So, what we're going to do is, I'd like you to just try repeating the right hand chord 4 times while you hold the left hand. And you can play octaves or single note. So, play along with me. Right, that's it. Good. And up 1 to D. Great. And to E. work on that a little bit, but there's a big glaring thing missing from this, and that's pedal. And I think chord progressions are a fantastic way to introduce pedal to students if they haven't used them before. I think you've mucked around with pedal before, so without saying anything, let's just try adding some pedal in. You ready? 2, 3, let's go a bit faster. And yeah, so Will, nice use of the pedal, but one thing I forgot to remind you of is that we actually need to change the pedal. Do you know a good time when we're going to lift the pedal up and down when we're playing this kind of thing, do you think?
You probably say after the fourth beat.
Yeah, so each bar, and when we change chords from now on, we're just going to lift the pedal up and pop it back down again to get a cleaner sound. Here we go, 2, 3, let's put a beat on. 2, 3, 4, a bit faster. So Will's effectively already playing a chord progression in a pop style. It's not a very interesting chord progression. When students add pedal to a chord progression, sometimes like Will, they'll leave it down or they won't actually know when to change. So I actually think this is a good time to introduce syncopated pedaling. So that's when we're holding the pedal down until after we play the next chord, and then the pedal comes up and goes down quickly afterwards. So it's that kind of out of time pedaling that we as teachers will do and know. For students, it can be a little bit harder. So actually just playing a chord progression really slowly and moving to the next one before they lift up their foot, they play, and then they lift up their foot and straight back down again. And you're trying to get that nice, clean change sound as well. So it's just a good opportunity to add some pedal. Make sure you play all these progressions with pedal because they're going to sound so much better. All right, Will. So one thing, just before we get on to, I'm going to introduce you to three really cool pop chord progressions. And you're going to know the sound of these because they're the kinds of progressions that a lot of the pop music that you might listen to on the radio are built on these days. Before we do that, I just want to introduce you to a couple of ways that we name chords. So this is the scale of C major. And one useful thing that students could do at some stage is to actually build stacks of chords like this. We won't worry too much about that just at the moment. But what I do want to let Will know about is that when we're naming chords in a key, rather than call this is a C chord, this he picked up before was a D minor chord, and etc. We could write them like this. So this is chord names. This is how modern pop music obviously writes chords in music. But for the purposes of learning chord progressions, it's also good to use numbers. And most musicians will learn Roman numerals. So have you learned Roman numerals before?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, beautiful. So the first scale degree of the scale is going to be the Roman numeral I, yeah? And it's going to be a capital I because majors are going to be shown in a capital and minors will be shown in lowercase, right? So I wouldn't do this. I would hand this to Will. I'm going to do it here so you can see on the video. But I would then get Will to go, okay, well, the next chord is D minor. So what would I write?
2 lowercase i's.
2 lowercase i's. Beautiful. E minor?
Would be 3 lowercase i's.
Great. The F chord, is that a major or a minor?
Major, so it would be IB.
Great. And I'll just go through here because I know he's all right with these. Now, this is a 7 diminished. So if you want to know the sign for a diminished chord, it's a little degree sign. There you go. And we're back to C. I won't worry about that at the top. And, of course, the final way that students should know how to number these is just by our regular numerals. Okay? Great. So with that in mind, and that was a really rushed job, you'd want to do a more thorough go of this with students. But again, try not to talk too much. Try and do as much playing as you possibly can in lessons. So Will, I'm going to introduce you to the first of the chord progressions that we're going to learn this week. And you're going to take these home and explore them this week. It's going to be really, really good fun. So the first one, I'm going to write it in Roman numerals and see if you can play it. We're going to play it in the key of C. That's what that means. And it's going to go 1, 6, 4, 5. So would you be able to play that on your piano? And let's use that pop style. Let's kick the beat, 4 beats per bar. And we're going to play. So what's your first chord? Oh, wait. I've done this round the wrong way, haven't I? Chord 1 in C is a major chord, right? 6, 4, 5. There we go. So, sorry for everyone who's watching at home and noticed that I got that wrong. 1, 6, 4, 5. So, first chord's going to be one chord in C.
Oh,
C chord. Yep. Next chord is the 6th chord.
yep. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Great.
Here.
And we know it's
And that's
lowercase,
a
so
minor.
it's...
That's a minor. So here. No, not that.
Beautiful, that sounds better.
Yeah,
Great.
there you go.
And you can tell your student that to save time, this is all white notes, so you
Yeah.
don't need to worry too much about thinking. 4 chord. Great. And the 5 chord. Great. So let's all play that together with 4 beats per bar. And I want you to move down the piano as you go, right? Do you want to keep that in front of you?
Sure.
Great. And in fact, while you've got that, why don't you just write out underneath the actual chords that you're going to play.
Alright, so C major.
Yeah.
And then the 6th is...
Now, interesting. Now, you can't see what Will's... Show me what you've written, Will. This is really interesting. So, can you see Will's written this for the C chord? And, of course, he's also done a little M next to the A
Doesn't
for the minor.
distinguish.
Yeah, so this actually is telling you to play a C minor chord, right?
Okay, so big,
So,
bigger.
it's assumed... No, you don't need
Oh,
anything.
you just don't need anything.
Yep.
Okay. There you go.
All right, looks good. So let's play the chord progression pedal. Left hand doing the octaves.
Mm-hmm.
And off we go. 2, 3, 4 beats on each one. And down to A. Down to F. Up to the G. Good. And let's just finish on C. Right, nice job. So one thing that I want Will and for you with your students to do is try and get students to use the area, if you can see on the overhead view here, from middle C, the octave below. It's where chords sound really, really rich. And so I think it's a really good place to start. So Will, once you've done your A, your C chord, I want you to go down 2 steps to A. Here we go. 2. Let's put a beat on. We'll go a little bit slower. Ready?
And then go back up to...
And we'll just finish.
Keep going down.
Yeah, we'll keep on going down.
Yep.
Yeah, ready? 2, 2, 3, and. Nice. Yeah, nice. A moment of accidental brilliance. Now, if we had time, we could go through what Will actually did there, because that was actually a really common way to learn a progression. So just so musically, it's just oozing out. So that was good. That sounds pretty cool.
Sounds
Yeah.
cool.
What if I played it like this? Have you done that before? Yeah. So this is, of course, the heart and soul progression, one that all students should know. Also used in the 50s. Now, you like musical theatre, right?
Yeah.
This kind of progression was used a lot in a particular...
Grease.
Yeah, very good. So I'm not going to have all the fun. Let's try it playing. So let's do this. Now, again, I'm doing this with Will because I know he can probably... We'll find out in a moment. You might want to leave this for other students until a little bit later. So we're going to, left hand's going to go first, left, right, 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 left, right, right, right. Nice job. Nice. Now, Will's missing the left hand notes a bit. Totally cool. You know, you can muck around with it at home, and I know you will.
Yeah.
All right, next chord progression. Grab the texter, and I want you to write one. Just write the normal numbers. 1, 5, 6, 4 this time, and let's play that.
So...
Good. And then that's it. Yeah, good.
So,
Cool. Let's play 2 notes on each this time. So, sorry, 2 beats each chord. Let's just try with the right hand first. So, your first chord, C, 2 Cs, then down to G. Remember going down.
So with left hand or right hand?
So with the right hand.
Yep.
So C chord in the middle of the piano. 2 of those, and then down to G. Good. Up 1 there to A minor, and then down to F. That's it. Good. Sound familiar? Good. Let's repeat it again and the left hand in. Ready? With C. Go. G. Good. A minor. And F. Good. Finishing with C. Right. And you can see how I'm coaching Will as he goes. I'm a little bit like the aerobics instructor. I'm trying to preempt the next chord that he needs to play so he can keep a steady sequence going. It's really important that 2 things are happening with this. One, that your student is thinking ahead, and this is, Will is a pretty competent musician and he's thinking ahead anyway. A lot of students will have real trouble. They'll stay on C, even if they have to play it 4 times, and then suddenly go, I've got to play G. Whereas, we can be thinking and looking down. I'm looking down here at the piano at G, so I can move straight there. The other thing that students will tend to do, if they're not so used to this style of playing, is they'll move their hands kind of all over the piano and change the shape in their hand before they come up with the next chord. And of course, we know that all these chord shapes are the same. So keep your hand in the same position. It's kind of locking it in this kind of position and just moving it up and down the piano. Well, I don't want tension in the hand. I just want the same shape. That makes sense? Great. Last chord progression. This happens to be my favorite because I was a bit of a 90s kid and this is a very 90s progression. The numbers you need are 6, 4, 1, 5. Nice job. Again, down the octave. So we're going to start. So this progression actually starts kind of the whiteboard back. Beautiful. So these are the 3 progressions that we've done, and they're in the lesson plan, so you don't need to memorize them or write them down. So we did this one first. That's that progression written 2 different ways, and again, good for the student to know different ways. And then this one and the last progression. So let's play this last progression. We'll go a little bit slower. There's that back for you.
Thank you.
And we'll do 2 counts on each, just right hand again. So 2, 3, 6 chord. Good. 2 and F. 1 and G. Good. Repeat. Nice job. Do you want to know the left hand in?
Yep. Yeah. 6.
A minor, F, A, C, G. Nice work. Great. So again, that was quite fast. I could tell he was struggling a little bit, but I'm just going to keep moving forward. Now, just judge it for your student as to how fast you should be going. So really thinking about that jumping and getting students to think ahead. If that's too fast, then just do one hand and go as slowly as you need to, but always keeping a steady beat. So important. Okay, so practice task for this week. I want you to explore these 3 chord progressions. You might want to see if you can do this kind of little groovy thing with that first progression. You could play them in 3/4 time. You could just explore them, okay, using the pedal. You could record yourself playing this on your phone. Any of these 3 progressions, they're all in C major. So you could record them, maybe repeat them a few times, put your headphones in, and then you could do a little bit of mucking around, just C major like you were doing before. Sure, that could be kind of cool. Now, for extension activities, because we're using, can I grab the whiteboard back again? Because we're using the chord number system, I could ask Will to, for example, play each of these chord progressions in a different key. So maybe you've got to learn them all in F and maybe in G as well. I wouldn't go to a flat key just yet. That could be another little extension to do. If a student's going really well and you wanted to explore some inversions, you could do that with students too. But we're not going to cover that right at the moment. Will, we're just going to finish with a song to play. I've written that down here. Let It Be by the Beatles uses just these 4 chords. So let me write it out for you really, really quickly so you've got a copy of it. So we've got C, G, A minor, F, C, G, F, and C. This is the verse. So we'll just try that first up. Do you know the song, Let It Be by the Beatles?
Not off the top of my head,
No?
but I think it will ring.
I reckon it will ring a bell as well. All right, so let's try playing it. We're going to do... So we'll go about that kind of pace. Yep. 2 beats each chord.
Yep.
Right?
C4 or C3?
C... What do you mean?
Middle C or...
Oh, yeah, so middle C.
Yeah.
And then you'll know which direction to go for the
Yeah.
next one, right? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Add left hand in. 2, 3, 4. Right? For a student like Will too, I know you're a singer, I'd be encouraging you to go home, sing along to something like that. If they don't know Let It Be, then that's all right. They could maybe learn it or just enjoy playing it. The other great activity for students is to go home and find songs that use these chord progressions. I mean, this one here, the last one we did, that's the 6, 4, 1, 5 progression, used all the time, as is, I've chosen them because they're all used a lot. The second progression, do you know any songs that use this progression?
A lot.
In fact, Let It Be does.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's heaps of songs.
So for a student like Will, I could say, come back and of 4 chord progressions in action. So I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. So now that we've covered the basics, the fun really starts. Next lesson, we're actually going to compose our own versions of these chord progressions. And it is incredibly easy. Students totally love it.
If you enjoyed that and would like to get those lesson plans and watch me teach in action live in my studio, then make sure you head to topmusicpro.com and join us on a studio membership. That's where you get access to all these incredible courses like Notebook Beginners and 4 Chord Composing, my courses about jazz and jazz bands and blues and business and you name it, we've got it there. It's an absolute treasure trove of all the training that any music teacher could possibly need to be an incredible teacher and also a super successful businessman or woman. So I hope you'll join us over there, topmusicpro.com, and you'll get access to everything that we've talked about today. Next week on the episode, we've finished today our From the Archive session, so we're back to our live and new updated episodes. And next week, we're joined by an absolute superstar of the Australian music scene. I'm talking to one of the members of Hunters and Collectors. Now, Hunters and Collectors were a huge band in the 1980s and even into the 90s, both in Australia, but they also toured around the whole world. And so you may have heard of them. They're one of Australia's most loved bands. And I'm speaking to Jack Howard, one of their key and almost founding members, and also my son's trumpet teacher. I'll tell you the story of how that all fits together next week. I'm really looking forward to speaking to you then. Until then, have a great week. I'm Tim Topham, and you've been listening to the Topcast from topmusic.co. For more information about this episode and to find out how to enhance your own teaching, visit topmusic.co. You'll find everything you need for your studio, from lesson plans to cheat sheets, quick win teaching ideas, and guides on how to build your teaching business. Plus, you'll be connected to a global community of the world's top music teachers. And when you're ready, join hundreds of other teachers around the world by becoming a Top Music Pro member and get access to all our bonus content and flagship courses. And don't forget to follow topmusic.co on social media and subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to it. That's all for today. We'll see you in the studio.